Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Daniels, and I'm the program leader for Indiana Native Seed Communities, which is a project of the Indiana Native Plant Society. I'm very happy that I'm going to be introducing Maraiah Russell from the Little River Wetlands Project. That's not always easy to say. I've been practicing that, especially fast and many times. Is joining us this evening to talk about some of the great work they're doing at LRWP. First off, for those of you that may not be aware of what Indiana Native Seed Communities is, we're a project of the Indiana Native Plant Society, and we promote networks of native plant enthusiasts working together regionally to procure, process, and propagate seeds native to Indiana. And in doing this, we want to increase the presence of these ecologically appropriate plants in all of our landscapes, whether it be urban, suburban, or agricultural. For those that may not be aware of it, we have a lot of materials on our Indiana Native Plant Society's website on growing native plants from seed. We also have a growing number of us that share information on Facebook. I'll share both of those both of those links in the chat here in a few minutes, in case you're not aware of them. For the best experience, and I think I hear somebody that isn't muted, please keep yourself muted unless you're invited to unmute. All right, just one other thing too, before I introduce Mariah, she will be, she said she's okay with taking questions during during her presentation. So if you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. And then we'll also open it up at the end for some questions. So, all right, let's get right to our speaker. Maraiah Russell is the Preserves and Volunteer Manager at Little River Wetlands Project. She's been working with LRWP for 4 years. Among her duties, she currently oversees the growing of native plants from seed for their restoration projects and for sharing with the community. She is an Indiana Master Naturalist, longtime member of Indiana Native Plant Society, and native plant enthusiast. She will be discussing the Seed to Marsh program at LRWP, which teaches community members of all ages why and how to grow native plants. I'm very happy to present to you Maraiah Russell.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you very much for the opportunity to share this program with everybody. We get pretty excited about it here at Little River Wetlands Project, and just really happy to have the opportunity to broaden our audience and share with people what we're doing here, because really it can be done at any organization, and really gets at the heart of really everybody having the power to grow their own native plants. A little bit more about me, just so that you guys aren't under any false impressions. I'm not a plant expert. I came to Little River Wetlands Project from a very different background. I was a veterinary technician for 18 years. So definitely that plant and native plant enthusiast part is true. I don't have any formal training, but like probably many gardeners, I was been a backyard gardener all of my life, and got really into native plants many years ago. So that self-learning has kind of spurred me and helped me get into the position that I'm in today. And if you haven't heard of Little River Wetlands Project, just a little quick tidbit about our mission. Our mission is to restore and protect wetlands and other natural areas in the Little River Valley. We're located in Fort Wayne, Indiana. So our project area stretches all the way from Fort Wayne to Huntington, and the valley carved out by glacial outwash there. And the other part of our mission is to educate our community about wetlands, why they're important, and really try to get them to be good stewards of the land through that education. So the quick thing is restore, protect, educate. That's the easy way to remember it. So really, this is about connecting our community with conservation and letting them know that they can directly impact the land around them. So all of our education and volunteer programs here at Little River Wetlands Project offer opportunities for people of all ages, backgrounds, and abilities to learn while directly contributing to these restoration efforts. When I started this position, my predecessor, Betsy Yankowiak, which has been synonymous with Little River Wetlands Project for a long time, she just said, every person that comes out here, we want them to know that they've had a part of this project, that they can take part in this program. And so that's been our focus since I've started, and definitely since the organization has started, through providing outdoor exploration opportunities and hands-on learning experiences. So we really want people of all ages to be able to get out into our marsh and explore. That's one of the benefits of doing a restoration as large as we have here. So I'll mostly be talking about our main nature preserve, Eagle Marsh, today. That's what we're best known for. We do have other preserves that are open to the public for hiking, but Eagle Marsh is located within city limits. So it is the largest urban wetland restoration project in the nation that we know of. So with all those qualifiers though, so outside of the coastal regions, and within city limits. So it provides a really unique opportunity for urban dwellers to come out and learn about wetlands and have really access to a wetland that they can explore, and not necessarily a pristine area that we can't let anybody touch or destroy what was there. So this was 832 acres is what we're up to now, and that's a previous farm field, most of it, that we are turning back into wetland habitat. And so you'll see the pictures here, kids in boots. That's the first thing that happens when kids come out for field trips, or for, I mean, we get kids from homeschool, from daycares, from field trips, as well as adult groups of all different sorts. So anybody that comes out is welcome to use our boots. We have a big boot rack, and everybody just boots up and gets right into the marsh. So the seed to marsh aspect of our program really started in 2018, and I'm just going to take this down. There we go. That seed to marsh tagline was really all about growing native plants with the help from the community as part of our restoration. And so that was a year before I started. And so I came with this hoop house installed, which is very helpful. But that kind of kicked it off, this nice hoop house, which is put in right behind our barn. And they're volunteers that installed that. And then also you can see the picture of kids building the tables, plant tables that go into the hoop house. And that year they held their first native seed propagation class through the Seed to Marsh program, and then did some programs out of that hoop house. So you can see some of the tables are pretty low, which is intentional for kids to be able to use them for exploration. You see microscopes out there. So seed exploration classes were happening as part of the education program. And then in 2019 is when I started, and as well as our wetland educator, Allie Munger, who is kind of my counterpart in this program. So I work a lot with the plants and volunteers and that kind of work. And then she works in teaching the education that goes along with it and engaging all those students that come out to the marsh in our Seed to Marsh program. So this was kind of one of the very first Seed to Marsh programs that we did. We were cleaning seeds here at the office on a winter day. This is a Girl Scout troop, I think, that came and cleaned these seeds, and I can't remember what we were cleaning, but that is definitely one of the benefits of this program, is that through all of the different aspects that involve seed growing, from collecting seed, cleaning seed, stratifying seed, it takes you through the entire year as far as activities go. So you can really adapt your activities to go with the weather and with the group size. So here, kids on the left, you guys might notice there are aphids on that milkweed. So they were exploring the aphids that year. Allie has a really great setup. She's got a microscope set up to connected to a TV. And so they could put that under and really see close up the aphids that were on the milkweed and kind of check those insects out. And so there's Allie working with one of our groups. This is a great example of how adaptable this program is, and really growing native plants can be. It is for everybody. So this is the Autism Network volunteer group. They come out several times a year and help us with volunteer projects. And this is really one of our favorite ones to engage them in. They're transplanting seedlings here. And once we get some gloves on them and they understand the process and learn how to do it, they're really excited about that and about the connection with nature and with the community. So we teach them, how to do the transplanting, but then they get to understand, oh, well, it feeds certain animals in the habitat, or it's important. Milkweed's a famous one, so we can talk about the tie-in with monarchs. So they get to know how it benefits their immediate surroundings. Especially, it's really neat if we could see some of those monarchs or something in the area, and they get that connection. And then they understand that we do a lot of work with these plants. We not only restore the wetlands with them, but we share them with the community. And then they get to also take a plant home with them and start habitat in their own backyard if they like, which they do. I don't think anybody leaves without a plant. So this was kind of the beginning for Allie and I in 2019, just kind of, that was our first year kind of getting into a rhythm and exploring. And then the next year, 2020, we kind of expanded it. Well, sorry, this is probably the end of 2019, and maybe, I don't think we got into 2020 yet, but one of the programs that we started that's worked really well and has become a staple of our community engagement with growing native plants is called volunteering. And it's a great term that Allie brought back from Texas. She was at a position there before coming to work with Little River, and I had never heard of the term volunteering. And as you know, breweries are popping up everywhere, and it's true of Fort Wayne as well. So we found the perfect neighborhood brewery. They have a patio outside with picnic tables, which just provides the perfect area for doing any kind of plant or seed work. And they don't even mind us coming inside and getting a little messy in their brewery as well. And it's an all ages venue. So you'll see their little guy in the middle watering plants before we haul them away. It's family friendly, a relaxed environment. And then we even pull in people that may not have ever heard of our organization before or not know anything about native plants. This family on the left, it's one of my favorite pictures to show, because we had 2 daughters taking their father out for a beer one evening, and they asked us what we were getting into, and we told them, and they just absolutely loved it. So we brought them materials, and they were able to sit there and do that activity and chat. And then, like I said, everybody gets to take a native plant home as well. So we love that aspect of spreading native plants throughout the community, spreading native habitat throughout backyards, and really impacting people that way. The picture on the right, my right, is a seed cleaning and packaging party that we just had there as one of our last volunteering events of the year. And it's just a great way to socialize and meet new people. We reel in new volunteers sometimes through this program as well, people who've never heard of us. So it's activity of ours. We do this once a month, and really whatever the seed or whatever the need is for this project at the time, that's what we'll be doing. So we've done seed cleaning, seed stratification, transplanting seedlings, all of those activities there at Hop River Brewing Company. And then we started recruiting seed to marsh growers. So there are several high schools that have greenhouses associated with their high schools. And a lot of times they have extra room and extra time, and they would love to have projects like this introduced to them. So, you know, if you're looking to work with any partners in your community, definitely check out your schools, because there could be some opportunities there. So this is Concordia High School. I found out that they had a greenhouse club that met after school once a week. And I connected with their teacher that led the group, and they were more than happy to take a tray of seedlings that we had started and transplant them. And then they babysat them until they got large enough to come out to the marsh to be planted again. So it was a great lesson for them. They were growing all kinds of vegetables and things alongside, and you see house plants. So it's very good for them to learn about the native as well, and then also have that community service aspect. So they really appreciated the connection, the plants they were growing with the habitat restoration, and they've come out since to the marsh, which I don't know if many of them had ever been out before. So that was a great tie-in, and they followed up and came out and did a seed collection. So so that's been a great relationship. And then we hit 2020, and I think most of you know what happened in 2020. We kind of ramped up in 2019, and then 2020 hit, and we had to take a little pause. But we pivoted, we adapted, and again, I mean, growing natives they're very adaptable, those native plants. So so we found ways to engage with kids in their schools and do projects outdoors and really keep the program going. So this is one of our favorites that we came up with. We sent high school students home with a little native seed growing packet. So they get a little bag of soil, they get a seed packet that typically doesn't require any treatment. So we gave them things that wouldn't need stratified, and instructions on how to grow them in their windowsill over those winter months when we were all kind of closed indoors and needed some projects. So so everybody got these, and I think we delivered maybe 200 of these to high school students. And at that time they were doing, I know at the high school we delivered them to through kind of thing where they could give these to parents in paper baggies. So that was one way we were able to adapt. And like everybody else, we made videos. That's the top left picture. We made some videos so people can understand. I think I was doing the seed sowing from stratified seed at that stage. We had socially distanced transplanting parties. So the picture on the right is us everybody had a separate table to work at in our open air barn, and we had our own tray of seedlings to transplant. So we found ways to work around that. And then instead of having, you know, our festivals or events where people might come pick up a free native plant that we've grown, we were able to set out trays and kind of have a self-service native plant pickup instead. So that's what that tray of bee balm is down there. And we did that on National Pollinator Day. So growing with the flow, that was definitely the theme of 2020 for us. It did us a lot of time to think about our program, and Allie created this great pamphlet, which I shared with Bill in PDF. I think is available on that Trello website. But we created some trifolds and things to share about our program. And Allie had the wonderful idea of just fully integrating it into her education programs. So what she did was pair. So we had traditionally, if a school wanted to come to Marsh for an educational opportunity, we might provide those options you see at the top under Discovery Hike. So pond exploration, decomposers, It's a Bug Life, and she paired that with a stewardship activity. So now every group that comes out to Eagle Marsh, they will get one of those educational topics, but then they will also do some kind of restoration activity or stewardship activity that falls into our Seed to Marsh program. So it's been a real success, and that has really been the way that we're kind of getting everybody involved in the restoration. We really would want kids to be able to come back with their families or friends, or even as adults, and come back and hike and know that they did have a direct hand in the restoration process. And then we kept growing. So we found even more partners. This is Ted King from local Canterbury High School. And I just put kind of this picture together on the slide so that you can see kind of how the flow might go. He's in his little greenhouse that he teaches out of at his high school, and they do a lot of houseplants. But again, as an educational opportunity, as a way for kids to give back to their community, they grew flats of native seedlings for us. So this year, the year that they participated in that year, I gave them bags of stratified seeds. And they had already been in the refrigerator for their determined amount of days, and they sprouted them in their greenhouse quite early. They always get great germination rates in there. They give us those trays of seedlings back because they don't have the space in there to keep all those seedlings. And then we bring them back to Eagle Marsh, and a group like the group below, I believe this was Easter Seals Ark, on the bottom there, and they transplanted them for us. So they were very proud. They transplanted 100 swamp milkweed seedlings that day. They were all kind of blown away that they had done that in the short amount of time that they were there. And then those seedlings grew, and we were able then to take them to some community events to share them, which is our picture on the right. So we've got some swamp milkweed that we're giving away at a community event where we're teaching people about our mission. It's a really great tie-in. I love to report back to those groups to tell them the impact that they've had and where their plants have gone or where their seeds have gone. And I think it just really, again, solidifies that connection with the natural world around them. And so today we've grown to have many partners that grow with us in our community. So the picture on the left, that's University of St. Francis. That's a more recent addition to our grower team. They came out this fall and did a seed collecting hike with their eco club. Those aprons are pretty handy for seed collection. So we had just, we're heading out and collecting seeds, and now they are going to be growing seedlings for us in their greenhouse as well. They did sprout some for us the year before too, but this is the first year where it's going to be a kind of concerted effort from the very beginning. So yeah, we have several high schools on the list. We have a Montessori school, which is great to get the littles involved as well. We have Carriage House, which is it's kind of a club, what they call it, a clubhouse model place for people recovering from addictions and mental illness to gather. And so they also have a greenhouse, and we are working with them to grow plants too. And then of course our own volunteers who put in a lot of time and effort in all aspects to make this happen. So all of those education programs that Allie is running, there's always volunteers involved with that effort as well. We have people, I lead several volunteer activities to do all of these things. We also go seed collecting and stratify seeds and all of that. So it's really gotten quite broad as far as how many people are involved in this program. And so one of the goals I know when they started in 2018 was to broaden that workshop series. And so we have done that over the past couple of years. Now we have a public seed collecting and cleaning workshop. I'll tell you that one is mostly, we spend a lot more time hiking, learning to identify the seed pods and seed and native plants when they've gone to seed. But we also talk about different methods of cleaning seed and storing seed. We have a winter sowing workshop, which is the picture at the top there. So we will, we do some winter sowing, like that has been shown, you guys might have seen online or on the Native Seed Communities Facebook page. We talk about the different methods and using milk jugs or clear plastic containers. We provide them with native seeds that have been collected from Eagle Marsh. But sometimes we get return visitors, and sometimes people bring seeds to share, which is always great. So that's grown into a nice workshop that we can have in the winter time. And then coming up actually this Sunday, we'll have our seed stratification workshop. So we'll talk about that way of growing native seeds or native plants as well. So we'll provide with the sand and seeds and kind of go talk to them about that process. So we really want to teach people how easy it is and how, I don't know, but it's not just for experts growing native plants. You can grow so much on your own with these different methods. So it's turning out pretty well, I think. I really appreciate the picture on the bottom right is actually someone who came to our winter sowing workshop last year and then sent me this spring these pictures, or maybe it must have been fall because they've gotten quite big, but she had success with her growing, and we were very happy to hear that reported back to us. So people are learning that they can do it on their own. And then the great thing too is now people that have gone through our workshops and grown their own native plants, they're even bringing native seeds back to us to share back with the community. So this winter, we had a bunch of seeds dropped off in paper bags that someone had collected from the plants they grew from us from when we started. So it's all coming full circle, and we have a lot of seeds to share with the community because of that. It's just all really feel good stuff. And so like I mentioned before, this Seed to Marsh program and growing native plants in general, it really allows for outdoor activities and exploration year round. This is just another example of a group that came out. This is another scout group, I believe. They were investigating some things in the soil in this picture, but they sowed these swamp rose mallow seeds, and you can see they labeled and dated them, and they did everything themselves, and I just put them back in the hoop house and kept them a little watered. And then I was able to send them pictures and updates when they were sprouting. And those kids are really excited to come back and get plants from us after they had actually grown into seedlings. And there's so many ways to use growing native plants in educational aspects. So one of my favorite ways is to put a little math in there. The picture on the left, we have a group of kids cleaning blue vervain seeds. I know that's not a little pictured, but for instance, we use a lot of resources. Prairie Moon website is a great resource. I don't want to plug just them, but we do utilize them a lot. They've got a lot of great information on stratification, what your plants need, range maps. But they also, if you're buying seed, they'll tell you how many seeds are per ounce of that material. So I'm able to then weigh the seeds, or sometimes if the kids are old enough, we make that a lesson and they weigh the seeds, and calculate how many seeds that they've cleaned during their time there. So at the bottom of that bag, you can see the mountain mint, which is a very tiny seed, over 1,320,000 seeds that they cleaned. And that's pretty impressive to kids when you hit over the 1 million mark. So that's pretty cool for them to learn. And then the little collage on the right there, other things that we do with the seeds that really provide some tactile learning. These are mud balls that we're making. Some of them pretty big, like that girl has a softball size, but making seed mud balls is pretty fun. The kids can take them home, throw them into their yards or throw them into their alleys and watch them grow. We actually brought a lot of them back to the marsh so that other people can throw them into the marsh as a way of planting them. So native seed mud balls are a great activity to do with kids. And then as far as staff goes, we are always experimenting and innovating and learning from ourselves, and then we take what we've learned and share it back with our groups in the community. So just a picture of some of our setup here. The east side of our barn is really an excellent place to keep our seedlings and to sprout seedlings as well. So we kind of expanded. We have the hoop house, but I made this kind of lower hoop house that sits right over our winter germination bed. And so, and then in the middle, you see a shade cloth. So of course, keeping that on for a while, you learn pretty quickly that it'll get too warm in there. So we use a 50% shade cloth, but it's a great spot because it protects it from the evening sun and from animals typically, because there's water directly to the right of us there. So there's not too much in that little strip right next to the barn. And then the setup there on the pallets. We really like to use whatever is free and available. So pallets are a great thing to store plants on. So we've put down some landscape fabric underneath, and we use that setup again alongside of the barn with kind of the 50% shade cloth over as a place to store our plants when we transplant them to their individual pots for the seedling stage. And the picture on the right is just what our plants look like in the wintertime, because probably as many of you have experienced, it's hard for some of the public to understand that native seeds need to go through winter, and they can come out of it. Even little seedlings will come right through the winter alive because they're adapted to our Indiana winters, and that's what they're supposed to do. So I use those pictures a lot in our workshops to show that yes, our seedlings come right through all of that snow and ice just fine, and it's actually preferable. This year, we have expanded our winter seed sowing. We have these boxes, which thank you, Bill, for giving me these great plans. We got some grant money to build several boxes, and what we've done with these now is disperse them to those growing partners as a different way for them to grow seedlings with us. So yeah, we made 5 of those with the help of volunteers. And yeah, I really appreciate all the information that Bill has shared with me because it's made things a lot easier. But where do all those plants go? We have grown thousands of native plants. If you've ever grown, native seedlings before, the way that we do it, we thickly sow because we aren't getting any germination rate or guarantee that all of the seeds will sprout. So we sow pretty thick, kind of to hedge our bets and make sure plenty of seedlings, but then we end up with lots and lots of plants, which is really a good problem to have. So We do use them in our restoration efforts. The picture on the left is volunteers planting them into the marsh on Earth Day. We have other group volunteers. We have a lot of companies that send a group of their workers out for a volunteer day. We have our stewards, Little River Wetlands Project stewards that meet once a week, do plantings, school groups. And so this group in the middle, that's the MLK Montessori School, that is one of our growing partners. They've grown milkweed in their classroom before, and they have this nice little vegetable garden outside of their school. But that was definitely becoming overgrown and not very maintained, and they allowed us to plant this little plot of native plants. So we threw in some mountain mint and some foxglove beard tongue, some beet balm and things like that with them. And the kids got to dig in the soil and plant some of the seedlings that they had grown themselves. So that was a really nice connection. And yeah, to the right there, I was just showing you, we do deal with a lot of invasives. And so reed canary grass is what you see dead all around that bee balm there. And we will plant right into that. But that was just another planting day that we've had with our volunteers. But we also, you know, I said, where do they go? We also just way to the community. So our Earth Day Festival, Monarch Festival, Urban Turtle Festival sometimes, and other events, we're always giving native plants out to the community, because that's definitely one of our goals, is just to keep spreading backyard habitat. So I thought I'd throw in some challenges that we've had to share. Again, you know, every failure is an opportunity to learn and to get better. And so I'll tell you some of the things that we've come up against. So early on, we thought maybe toilet paper tubes would be a free kind of compostable plant container for our seedlings. And they do work pretty well for very short term. We were just folding the bottom, filling with soil, and putting our seedling in there. What I didn't like, because we typically keep our seedlings for several weeks, and sometimes longer. Like I said, we'll even overwinter our seedlings. So they mold very quickly when you get them in the hoop house in a hot, humid condition. So I didn't like that too much when we tried. So I reached out. The picture on the right, there are probably plenty of greenhouses in your area that utilize single-use pots. I mean, they fill planters and make arrangements, and then they dispose of these. So if you reach out, I think there's probably an endless supply of free potting containers in your area. Hoop house also has mice. So we are in a natural area, and they love that nice warm hoop house, especially in the winter time. So we learned pretty quickly to protect some of our seeds, some of our pots and seedlings. The picture on the left is what I have to do in the spring if I want to keep them out of any milkweed or silphiums in particular. They love those big juicy seeds. And so so these guys, even though they're sprouted and we've got, you know, a couple inches growth on there, a mouse or vole, whatever, will still sneak in there and dig up that seedling to get the juicy nugget at the bottom. So they're pretty tough. They also eat the plants. They will eat those the leaves and the things straight down. So we kind of have to keep them under lock and key, which is why I was really glad to get help from the partners. Typically, their greenhouses, their facilities, they're a little more mouse proof than ours are. So with the hoop house, there's just no way to keep them out. And here's another solution. I think a volunteer brought up the idea and then donated these pots are being hung from the roof in pantyhose. So it was not something that you would think of, but those pots make great mouse nests when they're laying, again, in the warm hoop house. So we had several pots that were chewed through the bottom. The whole house kind of smelled of mouse feces and such. So this was an excellent way, and it worked very well, hanging our pots up from the ceiling in those pantyhose so that the rodents couldn't get in them. We also had some watering challenges. So for a long time, and even through most of this year, because our hoop house is now taken care of, but the side of the barn still needs watered. Yeah, just having the staff time, volunteer time to water can be a challenge. So our volunteers created this wonderful mist watering system that's on a timer in our hoop house this year. They put that together and donated the materials, and it's just worked out really, really well. I know we have several levels of the tables now. So they're too high, but if we water well enough, it comes through the top layer. So we kind of put our wetland plants that love to be really wet on the top and overwater so that it falls through, and then the plants underneath get adequate water. And then this is just kind of a fun problem to have. Even in our hoop house, which is mostly closed off, you know, with shade cloth and a front door with a shade cloth, monarchs, they can't resist those little milkweed seedlings. So in the fall, we grow hundreds of milkweed seedlings to give away at our monarch festival, and it's just really fun to find all of the monarch caterpillars that pop up on the seedlings right before the festival. It never fails. So, you know, you might think you have to worry about aphids, but you see that little guy, especially in the plant on the left, he's eaten that milkweed plant all the way down. But it makes a really great talking point for people when we're giving away plants about how important growing these plants are. And most of them understand that even though that caterpillar has eaten away the leaves, there are strong roots underneath. So we do still give away a lot of plants that have been eaten down, and people report back to us that they did just fine. So yeah, it's a great example to people at Monarch Fest about that tie-in between monarch butterflies and the plants that we're giving away. This is new this year, another kind of expansion of the program. We package a lot of seeds to share with the community, and there is, I don't know if your library has this, but one of our local library branches has a seed library. And so we started packaging and donating seeds to that library to share with people. But then we kind of got the idea to create our own seed library that would be a permanent fixture at Here to Go Marsh, so that people coming out and hiking, or maybe it draws people to the marsh to come explore the wetland. But we haven't actually launched it yet. You can see we have it in place, but and all of those elements are locked down so that people can't walk away with them. But we plan to stock it with seeds. Maybe even have maybe a seed of the month program. Bill, I've been thinking of sharing your growing methods. So I love the sheets that you've made with your stratification instructions and growing instructions for individual plants. So something like that, where we can keep people coming back and provide instructions on how to grow them along with the seeds. And then possibly even providing some pots and some soil on that bottom shelf so that they really have everything, or bags of sand if they need stratified, really just giving them everything that they need to get started in growing native plants. But we have lots of room to grow. So we have big ideas. And I know Ray Majors is on here. I'd like to talk to you maybe about growing some tree seedlings, but that's definitely something that we want to get into to expand. So far, we've done a lot of forbs, a lot of easy to grow flowering plants that really are both great for us here at the Marsh, but also great to give away to people to use as backyard landscaping natives. So I really want to expand our selection here for our restoration purposes. And we did just a little experiment last year. We collected some acorns and put them in the fridge and sand in those containers. Gave them to Ashley, top right picture there. She's at St. Francis, and she grew some oak saplings for us, which was really cool. This year I have some different materials. I have much deeper pots, and we're gonna continue that exploration and how it might work for us as a project with our growing partners. We'd like to build our own soil. So the picture on the bottom, those are rice hulls. And I'm going to experiment with mixing rice hulls with our local landfill has a compost, our Lake Avenue. They do leaf collection, they do composting, biosolids. And so we're going to use some of their biosolid compost mixed in with these rice hulls to try to create our own soil. Because I didn't put that under the challenges, but that has been a challenge. So buying bagged soil from one of the big box stores gets quite expensive when you're doing it on kind of a bigger scale. And then, so we started getting truckloads of soil from a couple local companies who had that service. I did encounter one of our truckloads of soil was loaded, it turns out it was loaded with invasive poison hemlock seeds. So that was a big challenge for sure, because then, yeah, we had to face the fact that most everything that we had grown that season was that had poison hemlock seeds in it. So we were constantly picking them out of the plants, and I had to switch vendors. And I know that was the case because I also personally got a load of soil for my garden at home from the same place, and it also turned up to be loaded with poison hemlock seeds. So so you run into those problems, and that's kind of what got me thinking about that, making your own soil. The other factor in that making our own soil is that many of the soil mixes that you buy from one of those, home improvement stores, they typically contain peat moss, which is harvested from wetlands. And so when you're doing wetland education, especially, it's very hard to justify using soil containing peat harvested from wetlands to restore wetlands. Now, I know that it is somewhat of a controversial topic. Some people might argue that those wetlands only still exist because they have that value of harvesting peat from them. But we're kind of, we'll see how this goes. We're going to explore how our own soil mix works, and then we'll kind of go from there. But those are kind of the reasons why we were looking into our own soil. And then, as time and space permit, I would love to get into growing more wetland specific plants, again, for our restoration purposes, but also for education purposes, because we don't want to, we have a lot of groups that return year after year, and we really want them to explore all of the different plants here at the Marsh. So, so I'm definitely looking into some wet beds, basically a raised bed lined with plastic, or there's lots of different plans out there for growing wetland plants, water beds, I guess you would call them. So I would definitely love to get into that in the future as time permits. And And I rushed right through this. I'm going to be a lot shorter, but there's plenty of time for questions then. But this slide, I really wanted to kind of give you that warm, fuzzy feeling that I feel when a whole season has gone through, because it's just really undeniable the amount of care and love that goes into each plant that comes out of our program. So one set of hands, starting at the top left, collects the seeds. Other hands clean the seeds. So this is at the bottom picture around the trays. That's at Hop River, one of our volunteering events. They had a great time cleaning seeds. And then yet another group, if you go up kind of zigzag, prepare the seeds, whether through stratification or packaging it or otherwise. Another group yet will sow it, that bottom Eco Club picture. They take those stratified seeds and sow them into the flats and take care of them in their greenhouses. Then they bring them back, and yet another set of kids are transplanting them up at the top. So all those little hands are separating them and loving them and putting them into pots. And then down here at the bottom that's that MLK planting that we did that was so much fun. They get to put them back in the ground. And just it's just a great tie-in. The amount of care and love and thought that goes into each plant. I think it makes it more likely that they're going to live. So yeah, I think that really sums up our program. This was not meant to be a how to do it, but really talking about how we've used the process of growing native plants to connect with the community. And it's really just been a wonderful experience as far as I've been involved. So I don't think that I have anything else. Are there any questions, Bill?
Let's see, Bill Lonberg. Are there any questions?
Yeah, there was one question in the chat, and this is from David and Laura Hughes, and they are planning to plant some newly created wetlands. And they say they have about 400 plugs, but they're also considering seeding, doing direct seeding. And they were curious if you'd had any experience in doing direct seeding of newly created wetlands, and they have concerns around lack of organic material, as well as the seeds washing out.
Well, it never hurts to do both if you really want to hedge your bets there. Well, first I'll talk about my experience. So I was not here during a lot of the seeding that happened at Eagle Marsh when it was first being restored. A lot of it they did with a seed drill. Some of it was scattered by hand by volunteers. We have done some seed scatter events with volunteers here at Little River, as well as the plantings. But I'm usually going into an area where we fought off a lot of invasives, and we've done some preparation of the ground, and we're planting into that. So, and I've had mixed results. Sometimes, even though maybe we've been working on an area for 2 years trying to remove invasives, we do a planting, the next year they rebound and right in the middle of our planting. So that is a concern. Something that I'm looking into more recently though is cover crops. So a lot of native seed mixes that you get do have a cover crop mixed in. And so that something gets established quickly while your native seeds are kind of slowly getting established, or your plantings. But I talked to someone who actually will grow a full year of cover crop before they even put any native seed in. So they'll grow a full year of barley or rye, and then terminate it, and the next spring then do their seeding, because it will help with the competition of invasives. So those cover crops are not only feeding the soil, but they're kind of out competing any weeds, invasives that might pop up in there. So I would urge you to look into that. It's really, it's tough. Wetlands are tough. Believe me, since I've started here, I've asked everybody that I could about their opinions and their methods. And it is just, it's a tough thing because of the flooding and the moving of seeds around in that seed bank if you already have invasives established. Again, here at Eagle Marsh, reed canary grass was planted as a cover crop years and years ago. And those seeds stay in the soil for at least 10 years, if not more. And they don't just stay where they are. So when our water levels go up and it's high tide, that water carries seeds around and might carry it right into an area where we've restored before. So we have a unique challenge being such a large wetland area, over 800 acres, and much of that is connected by some kind of water. That's a unique challenge that we face with our invasives. So I'm not sure if any of that was helpful. I definitely would look into cover crops. I've been thinking about seeding and then doing some plugs into that seeding. So I think anything that you can do to keep invasives out in a wetland restoration, that's your number one concern. Are there any other questions or comments?
There's another question in the chat from Daniel asking where the project sources its seed stock from.
Oh, so for this seed to marsh, we are harvesting from our own plants that have been installed here. Now, the original restoration, I know they used a lot from Heartland Restoration. We have used materials from, I want to say Spence, but it's something different now, isn't it? I can't remember. The nursery just changed names. It used to be Spence, but now it's something else. But we do try to source them from within 200 miles. We want to get a regionally native seed mix or plugs, and so those companies do provide that. I know the Indiana Native Plant Society has a great resource as far as local suppliers if you want to check their website. And I'll just put one more little plug in. We love the Indiana Native Plant Society. We partner with them on a lot of events, and we are going to have a plant swap here in June. It follows up right after. We'll have a invasive species class kind of workshop with lesson and a hike right after our plant swap in the morning on June 3rd. So definitely get in with your local chapter. We have the Northeast chapter up here in Fort Wayne, but check out your local chapter of the Indiana Native Plant Society. Anything else? Okay. Well,
let's see. There are a few other questions, although we're getting close to the end of time. Bill, maybe one other question.
Yeah. Go to well, here's one. Might be a quick answer. Do you use any prescribed fire?
Oh, we definitely do. So our large acreage is broken up into sections, and we rotate and burn every 2 to 3 years. Now, it's really important when you use prescribed fire that you follow up with some kind of treatment, because the prescribed fire itself doesn't eliminate, it depends on what you're using it for, but it doesn't eliminate invasives.
Do you want to go?
It will help manage your, you know, if you're trying to prevent woody species from growing up into the prairie, it will knock
You
back
mentioned Indian.
dogwood.
You mentioned Indian. Only if you.
But it will not actually kill your invasive. So it actually invigorates the roots of all the plants in the area that you burn. So right after a burn, the first thing that you'll see to get green should be your invasive plants. So for us, that's clumps of reed canary. So that helps us really dial in our herbicide protocol, because then we have to use much less. We're treating small clumps of freshly sprouted reed canary instead of large mature plants with long leaves, and all of our native plants are still dormant. So if you have a little overspray or drift or anything, it's not going to hurt your native plant population. So that's really how we use prescribed fire.
All right, well, that's terrific. It's right at 6:30, very inspiring, and what a comprehensive program you have. And I love the volunteering.
Oh.
So we will, Chris Fox, maybe we could do that down here.
It's everybody's favorite.
Yeah, so, but anyway, thanks so much. There are a few other questions in the chat. I have shared in the chat Mariah's contact. Also, I've put our contact, the committee, the Native Seed Communities contact, email seed@indiananativeplants.org. And let me, I'm going to look at something here. Yeah, and you can also ask questions on our Facebook group, which I've also shared, and some other and other links that may be of help. Now, we do have a presentation next month. I did want to bring that up. We have Blair Beavers speaking on February the 28th about their Little Native Seed Library Trail. It's a pretty neat project that Blair and the team at the Johnson County Soil and Water Conservation District have put together. So we'll be sending out communications on that within the next probably week. So, anyway, once again, Mariah, thanks so much for your informative session. I'd like to thank Bill Lonberg for helping with some of the background needs and spotlighting and making sure there aren't any, if there are any technical issues, especially from my end, because I've had some sound challenges in the past, that he could step in there. But anyway, we'll sign off for now. Happy growing natives from seed. Bye-bye all. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Wow.